Hi guys, and welcome to Lent Day 21. So today we are looking at love one another. This is through John's Gospel, chapter 13, verses 31 to 38. Jesus began to speak. Now the Son of Man is glorified. He said, now God has glorified in him. And if God is glorified in him, God will glorify him in himself and glorify him at once. Children, I'm only with you a little longer. You will look at me, and as I said to the Judeans that where I was going they couldn't come, so I'm saying the same to you now. I'm giving you a new commandment, and it's this: love one another, just as I have loved you, so you must love one another. This is how everybody will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for each other. Simon, Peter spoke up. Master, he said, where are you going? Where I'm going, replied Jesus, you can't follow me just now. You will follow later, though. Master, Peter replied, why can't I follow you now? I will lay down my life for you. Will you really lay down your life for me? Smiled Jesus. I'm telling you the solemn truth. By the time the cock crows, you will have disowned me 3 times. This is where the farewell discourses, as they are often called, really start. The disciples ask questions from time to time, but from now until the end of chapter 16, Jesus is explaining to them the fact that he is going away and that they can't follow him just yet. These chapters have often rightly been seen as among the most precious and intimate in the New Testament. They are full of comfort, challenge and hope, full of the deep and strange personal relationship that Jesus longs to have with each of his followers. We shouldn't be surprised that they are also full of some of the richest theological insights, of a sense of discovering who God really is and what he's doing in the world and in us. Where you find true devotion, you often find rich theology, and vice versa. Shallow thinking and shallow loving often keep company. This is only the second time that Jesus has spoken of the Son of Man being glorified. Before this moment, he has spoken of God being glorified and of the Son of Man being lifted up. Now he puts the two together. As in Daniel chapter 7, one like a Son of Man will be exalted, coming on the clouds to the Ancient of Days, and the whole scene will be the moment of God's glory, revealing who the true God is, over against the dark forces of the world that have resisted him and trampled upon his worshippers. You can feel the excitement in verses 31 to 32. Glory, glory, glory. Jesus is overwhelmed with glory, with the coming events as the unveiling of God's glory, with his own vocation rushing towards its conclusion and bringing God glory. He is also overwhelmed by the fact that he is going to leave the disciples behind. He has only been with them a short while, and now he must go. Few teachers would be able to face such a moment without qualms. The disciples have learnt so little, understood so little, grasped so little of what their wonderful master has been doing in their midst. How will they cope without him? The next 3 chapters will provide the answer as Jesus makes the disciples solemn promises about the coming of the Holy Spirit, who will continue to guide them as he himself has done. But before he even gets to that, he has something else to offer them. The simplest, clearest and hardest command of all: love one another. He describes it as a new commandment. Love, of course, is central in many parts of the Old Testament. The book of Leviticus commanded the Israelites to love their neighbours as themselves. But the newness isn't so much a matter of never having heard words like this before. It's a matter of the mode of this love, the depth and the type of this love. Love one another in the same way that I have loved you. This is to be the badge that the Christian community wears before the watching world. As we read verse 35, we are bound to cringe with shame at the way in which professing Christians have treated each other down the years. We have turned the gospel into a weapon of our own various cultures. We have hit each other over the head with it, burnt each other at the stake with it. We have defined the one another so tightly that it means only love the people who reinforce your own sense of who you are. Like a child returning to the question he wanted to ask after the conversation he moved on elsewhere, Peter harks back to what Jesus said in verse 33. And even though verses 34 and 35 contain some of the most beautiful and challenging words ever spoken, once again he and Jesus banter to and fro, with Peter blustering away and saying whatever comes into his head. This time, though, the conversation suddenly runs into a brick wall. Peter doesn't realise what he's said. "Where are you going? I'll follow you." "I want to follow you. I'll lay down my life for you." "Will you really, Peter?" replies Jesus, and we can see the soft, sad smile as he says it. "Is it really you who's going to lay down your life for me?" "Actually, Peter, I hate to say it, but what you are about to do is something rather different." We love Peter because he is so like the rest of us, and we love Jesus because he is so gentle with him, so loving, even within the sadness and the challenge and that the glory has this to come. So for reflection today, guys, what does it mean to love others in the same way that Jesus loved his disciples? Reflect on instances when Christians have failed to love one another and explore ways to foster a more authentic and inclusive love within the church today. I think it's love in spite of each other's weaknesses, in spite of what we've done to each other. It's an unconditional love that only Jesus has purely ever done. How does Peter's eagerness and bluster reflect our own human tendencies? Consider times when your own commitments may have fallen short, and on the gentle and loving nature of Jesus in response to your imperfections. How can you learn from this interaction and grow in faith and discipleship? Well, thanks for joining me, guys, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow.